According to 2004 figures from the Canadian Teachers Federation, roughly 30% of Canadian teachers leave their jobs in the first 5 years. I made it! So I've been teaching now for 5 years. I'm in my 6th year, and I've decided I wanted to make a video. 5 things I learned in my first 5 years of teaching. Thing 1, make it your own. When I first started teaching, I came into a grade 4 class, and I was set up for success coming into that. I had a whole month where I could sit and observe Miss Osaka, see how she taught, and she was a master teacher, fantastic teacher. She had been teaching grade 4 for over 10 years. She was amazing. She left me with all her lesson plans, all of her things. All I needed to do was do her program, and I couldn't. Eventually, I realized that I just needed to make it my own. I needed to go back a step, create it myself, because no matter how many times I read her lesson plans and looked through what she was doing, I didn't quite have that real understanding of why she made those choices or why this worked and that worked, and it didn't fit with my style, so I had to take a step back and make it my own. 2, the power of routine. When I came into teaching, it was my first year out of university. I had just moved back to Calgary. I was trying this whole thing where I didn't own a car. So I was really proud of the fact that I didn't have a routine. Some days I took the bus to school, some days I walked, some days I biked, some days I'd take a car to go, which was a new thing. I, in my personal life, did not have a routine, but I had so many conversations with teachers that second year about how important routine is for students. And so in my class, I started doing math facts for the first 10 minutes of math. And I found that the more I did that, the more the kids could see success just in the facts that they knew what they were going to do. And everything just got smoother and smoother and smoother. And as an overwhelmed teacher, that 10 minutes at the beginning of math class where I could get myself organized and the kids knew what they were doing and they could just do it once I installed that after about a week was phenomenal. 3, set time limits on yourself. My first couple of years of teaching, I lived across the street, and I would stay, no kidding, till 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m. I'd work every weekend. I worked way too much. One day I was here and it was super late. I looked at the clock and it was 8 o'clock, and then I looked at the clock again and it was 10 p.m. And I hadn't done anything. I don't know what I did. I could have just been sleeping. And I drew myself this graph. So you have effectiveness over time spent. Pretty standard. The more time you spend at something, the less effective you are. I had a student, Juan, who was one of the hardest, still is one of the hardest working students I've ever had. And his parents wanted to come in at 7:30 in the morning, every morning, for extra literacy help and math support. And I did it all year. He came in every single morning at 7:30, and he'd be in my class from 7:30 till 8 o'clock. And then 8 o'clock he'd go to recess, 8:15 the day would start. It wasn't effective. I didn't have effective things for him to do. He probably would have been better off just sleeping in. It made all of us feel good because we were working hard, but we didn't actually. Thing 4, teacher resources can be amazing if you actually read them. There's this stigma that I always felt where if you just followed a textbook or followed a teacher resource that you were a worse teacher. You weren't creative, you weren't responding to your kids' needs, you were just doing a blanket program. These programs, like this kind of thing, Voices in Democracy, grade 6, this is millions of dollars. Are there some flaws that they're a business? Yes, of course, but they're really good if you actually stop, read them, and then take the things that work for you in your class. So thing 5, this is what I learned last year, is just care less, especially about what other people think. What really matters is what the kids think and what you know in your classroom. Admin always has things that they're focused on. They're humans too, and they can only have so many things that they're gonna focus on. And so I used to get really frustrated trying to prove to everyone else that I was good enough, and I always thought I was good at taking feedback, but I wasn't in my first bunch of years. Because I would take things personally, and I cared so much that as soon as there was anything negative, that would really hurt. And then last year, I just kind of had a moment of who cares? And now I am so much more happy, so much more productive. I'm a huge believer in intrinsic motivation and it being a really powerful driving force. And so I learned to actually do that for myself too, just teach for myself. Which brings me to the end of this video, and I guess is an answer to the question of why am I even recording this video at all on a public site like YouTube? Well, it's for me. I was thinking about this. I was watching Vlogbrothers today, and I was very inspired. And so I wanted to give myself an hour, see if I could make a video like this, post it, and probably not tell anyone about it. So, Sheldon Locking, hey, a year from now, 10 years from now, I'm glad I made this video.